My saint was Saint Peter Claver. So he was born June 25, 1580 in Catalonia, Spain, to poor, devoutly Catholic parents. His feast day is September 9. He's the patron saint of Colombia, African diaspora, African missions, and interracial justice. He died on September 8, 1654. And the social justice theme is life and dignity of the human person. So his parents inspired him to devote his life to God because they were very devotedly Catholic. And he studied in a Jesuit university. He obtained many degrees. And then in 1602, he entered the Society of Jesus for 3 years. And then he was sent to Majorca, Spain, to study philosophy and divinity. There he met Alphonsus Rodriguez, who told him to go to the Spanish territories in the New World. Alphonsus was this spiritual guide who wasn't very well educated, but he was visited a lot by people for religious reasons and for because he could make predictions about things. I forget what the term is, but yeah. 1610, he set sail and arrived at Cartagena, which is modern-day Colombia, and a chief slave mart. March 19, 1616, he was ordained a priest there. So Popes Urban VIII and Pope Paul III condemned slavery, but it still went on even with religious leaders' protest. And in Cartagena, local priests didn't really want to do anything because they didn't know any African languages, and they kind of used that as an excuse not to help. And Peter, when he got there, he started working with Father Alfonso de Sandoval, who taught him to learn African customs and language to gain the trust of slaves so that they can help them. Peter learned Angolia, which most slaves spoke, and hired interpreters for other languages. He visited slaves on ships. He would get a small boat there, and then he'd row over there and say hi and give them refreshments, which kind of prompted them to trust in him a little bit, because being on that slave ship, they haven't seen a friendly face in months. And they were treated like subhumans. And he baptized 300,000 slaves in the same way and waters as slave masters, which effectively kind of showed that they were equal in the eyes of God. And which also made a bunch of people mad because they thought of them as less than humans and without souls and stuff like that. And he heard slave confessions. He taught slaves about Catholicism and that they were loved by God and had dignity because they were loved by God. He visited hospitals in Cartagena, even St. Lazarus, which helped lepers. He visited and comforted prisoners, especially those to be executed, and just let them know that even though they were to be executed, they were still children of God. And a quote I have is Peterus Claver and Theopum Servus, which translates to Peter Claver, slave of the Africans or slave of slaves. Later, he was accused of rebaptizing Africans and forbidden to baptize. In 1650, he contracted plague contracted a plague that was rampant in Cartagena at the time, which left him in constant pain, and he was unable to celebrate Mass, and he was put in an isolation cell. In 1654, he met Father Diego Ramirez Farina, who told him he would continue his work. And he was really happy about that, but then he died days later. And in 1888, Pope Leo VIII canonizes him. And 3 lessons that we can learn from St. Peter Claver are: 1, don't turn a blind eye to slavery and other injustices. Modern-day slavery includes human trafficking, which affects 27 million people in the US alone. And you can learn more about it by looking up the US Conference of Catholic Bishops Anti-Trafficking Program. And addiction. Second lesson is don't submit to excuses and to always try to do the right thing. And the third lesson is to teach others that they are loved by God and have dignity. Okay.